Real estate is a relationship business, and if you focus on the relationship, your transactions will come.
The price of land never went down. The price of labor never went down. The price of materials never went down. Don't expect crashes to happen, but once that rebounds and you're in full force, it's gonna be a lot more challenging.
Some of these agents just do not answer their phone. I'm going to answer my phone. That's the biggest thing that a lot of my clients say that they appreciate, that I always answer them and that I'm always available.
Man, Joseph, I'm really excited to sit down with you today, chop it up, and looking forward to listening to your experience, your journey, and just want to say thank you, man. Appreciate you
Absolutely, man.
having the
Likewise.
time out here. What you been up to?
Just working, man, hustling, man. I'm excited as well to get to know you a little bit more on a deeper level and see a little bit as to what your real estate career's been like. Maybe we can share some similar experiences and take it from there.
Absolutely. Everybody's journey is different, and I think that's what makes it really interesting, amazing, is understanding what everybody goes through to get to where they are right now. So,
Absolutely.
Would love to just pick your brain, get an idea. What would you say is your single most effective marketing strategy that you use?
I would say relationships over transactions.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a marketing strategy, but I think if you know how to build relationships with people, the transactions will come. I truly think real estate is a relationship business. And if you focus on the relationship, your transactions will come. So for sure, without a doubt.
I agree with you 100. I think that's the authenticity. And I think right off the bat, you can see some agents that have that by their natural way of demeanor and care, or they're just in it for like a transaction, what's best for them.
No, definitely. And I wanted to know too, what inspired you to become a realtor?
It's been an incredible journey for me. All right, I've been working since I was 13 years old, and in my background, I'm Indian. We have family businesses, and I grew up starting at a very young age, and I feel like it's beautiful to get that. At the same time, it's almost, I don't want to say obligation, but you see your family, you kind of fall into it. I've always loved real estate, and I recently had an open window of opportunity for me to step up to the plate and do this, and I absolutely love it because I feel like this is the first time in my life where I'm doing me.
Right.
Instead of, the entire family thing.
Right.
So I'm totally savoring it. I'm relishing it. I appreciate it. No fear whatsoever, and I'm just enjoying every single moment.
How long you been in it now?
Not too long, but I will say to be fair, for about 25 years, I've been advising my clients pretty much how you're saying where you get to build that relationship.
Right.
And I'm doing that at such a young age, and I'm excited to do it on this platform where I can let all my experience compiled together, bring me where I'm at today, and actually serve a great purpose, because I actually love helping people. I love listening. And I think that's what makes it unique and different amongst every single deal, is everybody's looking for something different. Everyone has a different situation. I look forward to listening to those details, because I think if you pay attention, you can really do something more powerful and meaning for them.
Right. Sweet, man. That's great to hear, and I'm super happy for you as well, like I said. And I heard you've been crushing it too, man. So congratulations on the success.
Let me ask you, what would you feel like has been the most difficult negotiation process you've been through on a deal?
Most difficult negotiation. Honestly, I've never, for the past 6.5 years that I've been doing this, I don't consider myself a salesman. I will go to bat for my clients and negotiate on their best behalf, but rather than going into that, I much rather tell you about a sale that I actually did not too long ago on a home in Horizon. That house had been on and off the market since 2021.
Oh, wow.
Probably went through about 6-7 different agents.
Wow.
It was first put up for sale and for lease in 2021. I actually brought him the tenant at the time. The tenant was there for a year. After that, he relisted it with another agent. And he was just on and off. After that, it didn't lease, it didn't sell. He finally called me, I would probably say mid 2023, reached out to me and said, hey, you brought me a tenant in 2021. You're the only one who did that.
Wow.
So I'll give you the shot to sell it.
There you go.
He went against my advice, wanted me to price it a little bit higher. I still agreed to do it. And sure enough, actually, I found a buyer within 2 weeks.
Wow.
Funny enough, we were about a week away from closing. Or actually a couple of days from closing. The buyer had asked for an extension.
Okay.
For an additional week to close. Pretty normal, you know, buyers need an extra week for, you know, if they're pulling funds from retirement account, I think was the case. And he had been ill-advised by another agent that had sold a buddy's house a couple blocks down. And the agent swore up and down that she could sell the home for, I think it was like 30, 40 grand higher than what I had it priced at.
Wow.
I called in a favor and I found out that the house had appraised for 284. I think we had an FHA appraisal, so it can always go VA or conventional. Maybe the appraisal might come out a little bit different, but at 320 something, 330 something, I doubt it. So sure enough, yeah, he terminated the sale. He told the buyer he wasn't going to extend. The deal fell through. He relisted it with that other agent. Sat on the market for 3-4 months.
Wow.
Didn't sell, called me back, asked for my help again. Sure enough, that second time I found a buyer again a week or two later. We put it under contract and it sold. But he had gone through like 6 or 7 different agents, man. And it was quite the difficult seller for sure. So I don't think it was more so the communication between myself and the client that was difficult. And you know, it was evident why he had been through so many agents after working with him. So that was probably the most difficult sale I've ever had. I honestly have done over 150 transactions, and that was probably the one where I had to go back and forth with the client on several different things. So
sounds like a roller coaster ride.
It was, yeah.
Like one of those wooden old ones where it's like real bumpy.
You know, funny enough, I even told myself, if he calls me back, which I know he will, I'm not going to take it. You know, it's a waste of time. He wants me to list it over what it's worth. But when he reached out back out to me, I just knew, like, in my head, there's no other agent that's going to be able to get this deal done.
Right.
No other agent's going to have the patience that I have the communication skills that I have. So I said, you know what, I'm doing it to help him, you know, and to get him where, you know, get the house sold and he can be on his way, you know. He was already moved out to Houston. So I did it and I helped him and he was thankful at the end of the day.
Definitely stands out as a memory between him, certainly, and of course, you getting it done. So
yeah, I would like to know, how do you stay competitive in this market, man? Or not necessarily competitive, but I would say motivated.
Motivated?
Yeah, what keeps you motivated, man? Day in and day out. It's a cutthroat business.
It is. I love it. And I'm going to tell you, you know, when you think this is competitive, what I've done in my past in living in different areas, I mean, you're talking shark-infested waters. And when I was around that, I saw a lot of behavior that I wouldn't condemn. And basically, I looked at it and I said, wow, I really don't want to be like that. And I wanted to make a name for myself. And when I did that, I was winning in ways where they couldn't win. You know, they were doing what they were doing, but I was winning with what I was doing, which is actually very simple. Just being me, genuinely caring, genuinely trying to make a positive difference into somebody else's life. So, and in this industry, I love it because I look at it as not a transaction, like you said, building relationships, but you're also having the opportunity and the platform to understand what everybody is going through. Whoever I encounter, I'm giving you 100 of me with a sole purpose to truly help you make your life completely different.
Right.
And, you know, I can already envision what that's going to be like. So to have that opportunity, I think is a blessing.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't take it for granted whatsoever. So to stay competitive, you know, let others do what they need to do, what works best for them.
Right.
I know what's best for me. I'm comfortable and I'm happy to shine in any moments or opportunities where I have that actual moment where I can speak to someone, listen to them, and offer them the best solutions for whatever that they're going through.
Yeah.
Transactions are great. I always say, in baseball, I don't really watch too much baseball, but when you're at bat, and if you're thinking home run, before the first pitch comes out and you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna send this out the park, many times you can end up striking out. Why? Because you're thinking home run, you're thinking grand slam. When I have an opportunity, I'm at bat, I wanna make contact with the ball, focus on that, and then let it go where it needs to go and watch it happen. That's kind of like the way that I like to handle that.
Right. It's a nice little philosophy for sure.
What would you say is the biggest, you kind of shared with me, some negotiation challenges you went through. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you've gone through in your early career?
Challenge in my early career. I actually, funny enough, was taking my real estate courses at the end of my senior year in high school. As soon as I graduated, I took the test in August of 2018. And I passed it the first time, luckily, both the state and the national, which I know doesn't happen too often.
No, it doesn't.
So I was licensed straight out of high school as a young 18-year-old kid. Hadn't bought a house in my entire life, hadn't sold a house, knew nothing about real estate. I was a young kid. I had glasses at the time. I mean, you could imagine, man, I was nervous head to toe. And I just thought to myself, who's going to want to work with an 18-year-old kid to buy or sell, one of the, biggest transactions they're going to do in their entire life. So that was probably the biggest challenge, I would say for sure when I got started. And I didn't have early success, as some do. I was young. I was working another job at the time as well, and was just trying to find my place in real estate, It finally clicked to me, I would say probably the end of 2019. So about a year after, it clicked to me and I said, I just got to put in the work. I got to put myself out there, market myself. If not, this is not going to go anywhere,
Right.
And I really hadn't seen much. So, I just started going out there and recording properties and doing more stuff on social media, which I was terrified of when I first got licensed because I wasn't who I am now then. I was very insecure and I was also very conscious, what if I start posting myself on social media more, putting it out there that I'm an agent and things just don't go my way. Maybe I'm out in the business in 2 years, as most do, as everybody knows that famous statistic that, 87% of agents are out of the business in that first 2 years, So that was my fear. But I said, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
What do I have to lose?
And what do you have to gain?
Yeah, right. So it just clicked, and one day to the other, end of 2019, I just started posting nonstop on, funny enough, TikTok.
Okay.
At the time, not so many people were on it. People saw it as a kids app, and a lot of adults weren't on it yet. At least that's what people assumed. And sure enough, my first video did decently well. Wow. And as soon as I saw those views, I started getting real excited, and I started doing it consistently. I feel like I was on TikTok I was probably one of the first agents in El Paso to be on there.
Okay.
If not the first, because people saw it as a kids app.
Sure.
They didn't think they could sell a house from it. And I saw a lot of the bigger agents in East Texas and these bigger cities that are usually a little bit ahead of the curve than agents in a smaller city like El Paso. And so I jumped on it, and I had a couple videos that did over 1 million views.
Wow.
Some close to 2 million views. Now I have 35,000 followers on there.
That's crazy.
So it just, once those videos started hitting, I had consultation calls scheduled on my calendar left and right. I put a little link in my bio where they could schedule a consultation call, and they just had several in weeks, and I just doubled down on that because that's what worked for me at the time. And it just took off from there. My first deal that I closed as a solo agent was March of 2020. And the deal came from TikTok.
That's crazy.
The deal came from TikTok, and it opened up so many doors for me, man. And I still have a relationship with that couple to this day.
Good.
They've probably referred to me 9 or 10 different families. They're military, and I can guarantee you, if you build a good relationship with a military family, you treat them well, you give them good service, they're going to send you lots of referrals. You know, military is awesome for that. They don't know a lot of people here because usually they're moving from somewhere else.
Right.
But, you know, they talk amongst themselves down at Fort Bliss, you know. So I was very grateful for that deal. It changed my life. Went full-time real estate shortly after that first deal, and that was history, man. I've pretty much doubled every year since then. And yeah, TikTok was it for me, man. Changed my life. I even had the honor of being on HGTV House Hunters.
Wow.
First ever episode.
That's a national
Paso.
television show.
Yeah, and they found me through TikTok.
Wow.
Those clients did. So
wow.
Yeah, that was it for me. But yeah, that was my biggest challenge, man. That was for sure, without a doubt, my biggest hurdle. You know,
like a
viral sensation right here.
No, I mean, like I said, it was tough for sure in the beginning, you know.
Sure.
That's why I tell agents, you got to stick through it. You know, the first 2 years are the toughest. Stick through it, put the work in, and the success will come, you know.
Man, that's great to hear. That's incredibly inspirational.
You know,
I appreciate it.
For ones that are thinking about this, not sure what's going to be their niche. So
yeah,
definitely inspirational for you sharing that, man.
Yeah, of course. And I actually, I'm lucky enough to run my own real estate team now.
Okay.
I got 5 agents under me.
Wow.
So if anybody's watching this and they're, you know, stuck at a point in their career where they're, you know, struggling a little bit to get deals, or they don't have a mentor that's guiding them through the process, I'm here to help, you know. So not only for you, but in general, you know, if anybody ever needs anything, I'm more than happy to help.
That's what's up.
You know,
man.
it's always I like to pass the baton forward, and if there's any way that I can help anyone, I mean, I'm happy to do so.
That's great to hear, man.
A lot of agents are not like that.
No, they're not. They're definitely not.
People grow egos really quick in this business, and they don't want to share their secrets, you know. But I tell everybody, man, business is unlimited. I mean, what are we, 3,500 agents in El Paso, more or less, licensed?
Right.
What's the population of El Paso County? Close to 1 million by now, probably. I mean, business is unlimited, man. Deals close every day.
Right.
So I encourage agents to reach out to me, any questions they need. And for yourself too, man. I mean, like I said, regardless, you've been crushing it already, and you're on the right track, man.
I love it. You know, I feel like you do what others don't do, and you kind of zone in on just doing it the best that you can, no matter what happens. I think that just comes across as genuine as possible, and that's pretty much, you know, how my personality is aligned. I love to help, and I love to really, you know, speak from the heart. It's an opportunity to separate ourselves from ones that are, you know, doing it in a different fashion.
Absolutely. I'd like to change the topic, man, because the market's been crazy.
Yeah.
Interest rates, you know, they've been high for the last year or two. So I'd like to know, you know, what advice do you have for buyers and sellers in today's market?
But the one thing where I feel like it's a breakthrough when I put this into perspective for buyers is, what do you think is going to happen to the market with home prices and a supply and demand, you know, environment, economics? And I'll ask them. When I ask them, they're kind of putting the perspective into their own minds, answering for themselves. That way I'm not trying to tell them something, but kind of opening their mindset. And right away, they're like, yeah, home prices will go higher.
Right.
Okay.
So, you know, you want to lock down what you love the most. We buy a home because it's not something we're going to do every year. We're going to keep moving. You're buying a home because you're strategically trying to position yourself in a home that you're going to enjoy and love the most.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing I like to mention to them is, if you wait, you're probably going to end up losing out on the one that is in the best location. Right? Corner lots, cul-de-sacs, those are all going to get taken up first. If you want to play that waiting game, what's going to end up happening is you're probably going to get pushed back with your options to move into a home further back in the community, not as a desirable street lot that you would have wanted. Maybe it could be the same build home, but now you're not in the same neighborhood, that same block that you really wanted to be in. So when I have these conversations, I just try to open up the perspective. Let them know, buy what you really like, buy what you love. Don't worry about too much on the price. You could always refinance in the future.
Absolutely.
But why would you take a chance on paying more for the home significantly once rates start dropping. Now, you're more experienced than I am, and I respect that, but I would say when that starts happening, I think you're going to see a lot of people paying over list. Now this is going to go into it could potentially go into a bidding war. I mean, I've already seen it happen on some of my deals.
Homes priced below 225 are still really, really competitive, especially if they're turnkey. So we do see multiple offer situations. So I can only imagine if rates do come down.
Yes.
I know you weren't in the business at the time, but during the COVID years, man, there was lines of people outside waiting to see a home. I was literally outside waiting in lines with my clients. And we would get outbid on a lot of them. There was so many cash buyers too. But when rates were 2-3%, everybody was qualifying for a mortgage. Now, we're struggling with that, and we're seeing more applications get denied.
Right. Stringent lending.
Because not only that, but the debt to income ratio with the higher rates, it's a lot harder to qualify for a home now. Where rates sitting at 6.25 FHA, excellent credit. Back then, I think the lowest I saw was like a 1.99 on a VA that I closed.
Wow, man.
Yeah, so you can imagine, man, the competition out there was intense.
Sure.
So for sure, without a doubt, if rates come down, what you said is true. It's going to get competitive.
It is.
Pricing will go up.
Supply and demand.
Exactly. So for sure, I tell my clients the same thing. Buy now, secure the house you really want, especially if it's a resale. We can get a great deal on it. Get your closing costs covered, negotiate a bit on the price.
Correct.
That's not going to be the case if we're competing with a bunch of different buyers when everybody's wanting to buy a home because rates came down.
Right.
If we're lucky enough to see rates in like the 4s again, maybe.
Yeah.
It's going to get competitive for sure.
Absolutely.
And
I tell people too, the price of land never went down. The price of labor never went down. The price of materials never went down. All these things get factored into the equation if you're in the business. Obviously, you got to be profitable, otherwise you're losing money. But all those factors never went down. So don't expect crashes to happen. You might see a little, stress here and there, but once that rebounds and you're in full force, it's going to be a lot more challenging. And now you're probably going to end up losing multiple times on the homes that you're trying to obtain, and they're probably going to see that a few times. On that note, you mentioned something interesting. You mentioned to me that you were like waiting in line.
right.
I could
totally relate to that. And I'm a little older.
Yeah.
I've seen some cycles.
In 2008, when I was in South Florida, when these communities and developments were new and upcoming, do you know what they did? They were literally hosting like an event for people to come and see pre-sale, right? Pre-construction. A lot of people interested, flooding, kind of like that line scenario. But guess what they ended up doing? They had to come up with a system on how they're going to give dibs on who's there.
I remember who was first in line.
They were literally doing lottery tickets.
Really?
You
It was just completely wild. They'll have that thing roll with balls or papers, and then they'll pick. And if you had this number, you were like now having the opportunity to put a deposit down on something. It was like a game show, like The Price is Right or something like that, which I've never seen anything like that before. So I hope people are ready to see what's going to happen, and I hope they focus on what they really want and they just stick to that and not really get consumed with news, media, things like that, because I think that could really hurt them in the long run.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, I tell my clients too, look, I can give you advice, us as professionals can, but nobody knows what's going to happen in a year or two,
Let me ask you this. How do you separate yourselves from other agents? How do you differentiate who you are, what you do versus what somebody else is doing? How do you approach that mindset and game plan coming into this game?
For sure. I would say the biggest thing for me, definitely, especially coming into the business, as I started to reach out to agents to maybe put an offer in and ask for, some feedback as to how their listing was going, if they had any offers. And I'm sure you've experienced it already, man. Some of these agents just do not answer their phone.
Right.
Communication is terrible with a lot of the agents. I don't know if it's just an El Paso thing or if this is nationwide, but I started to notice these realtors, they don't answer their phone. So my thing on my end was I'm going to answer my phone. So that's the biggest thing that a lot of my clients say that they appreciate.
It's good.
That I always answer them and that I'm always available, because a lot of other agents aren't. I tell my clients when I meet with them from the get-go, you can call me or text me early in the morning, late at night.
Yeah.
If for some reason it's 12 at night and you got to text me a question, do it. If I'm asleep, I'll get back to you first thing in the morning. But
You do sleep?
I try to.
Okay, all right.
I try to. It gets hectic sometimes. There's weeks where we're running, I get home at 7, 8, eat dinner, and then I'm back to sleep and I wake up again and back to it, It's a grind, man, for sure. But that would be my biggest thing, communication, being always available for any questions, concerns at any time of the day. So
I agree with
that's
that.
what I would say.
I think the biggest
sure.
translation when
Just answering your phone, man.
Yeah.
Because a lot of agents don't. And sometimes you see houses sitting on the market and you reach out to the agent to maybe see where they're at because your client's interested and they don't answer their phone, and you could put 2 and 2 together. You're like, no wonder it hasn't sold,
It also shows care.
Mm-hmm.
When you can pick up your phone and you can communicate and have a conversation that just has that chemistry,
Right.
I think that translates to care. And I also think it translates when they try with somebody else that they don't care.
Right.
I think that you don't need to have a vibe detector to pick that up. You can just get a sense and a feel and a pulse. So again, opportunistic for our types of personalities.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I might be a little extreme on that end of things. Quick story. I was one time at a UFC card in Arizona. It was the main card already. I think it was like the second fight of the main card. I was in the stairwell on the phone with the client for about 30 minutes. So that's, my level of commitment to my clients. And I think that has shown through and through. And that's why I think I get a lot of referral business now. Just my level of commitment,
There you
So
go.
I'm in my 20s, man. So
Yeah.
it's the time to grind, So I tell my clients, I'm going to out hustle any other agent
There
out
you
there.
go.
So
Make a name for yourself
absolutely.
and separate yourself from the rest.
Definitely.
Where do you see yourself 3 years, 5 years? What are your goals? What's your bigger plan?
Or vision.
I don't know, man. There's a lot you could do with real estate. There's so much.
Would
right
you
now
change
I'm
anything
building
that you're
up,
going to do? Are you trying to upsize? You mentioned teams.
Yeah, I got 5 agents under me right now. I wouldn't like to maybe max like 10. I don't want to over leverage myself. I do enjoy helping my personal clients and I love to give them my utmost commitment. So sometimes it can get a little hectic already with just the 5 agents,
Right.
They call me all the time with questions, concerns. So I wouldn't want to build it too high up, I've even considered, maybe starting up my own brokerage in the future, things like that. But I just don't ever see myself, at least not yet, stepping away and taking more of an administrative role because I enjoy helping my clients. I truly do.
There you go.
Being out there one-on-one with my buyers and sellers, so I don't know, maybe in the future, we'll see.
Man, that's proof in the pudding why you're so successful. So
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Cool, man. So I think the last thing I want to ask you before we call it a day is how do you build trust with your clients?
It goes back to being genuine and honest, right? It's not like you meet and you start talking about showing this and showing that and this home is here. It's really more of listening, paying attention to what's most meaningful for them and what they're looking for. Another reason why I just love this so much is because every situation is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
When you can zone in and truly listen to what they're asking or what they're looking for, and then if you can deliver options that actually fit into that whole specification, I mean, that in itself proves that you're a good listener, that you do care, and you're trying to find something that's perfect for them rather than trying to show them something that they're not interested in, shove it down their throat.
Right.
So for me personally, earning that trust is listening, building that relationship, remembering conversations that are meaningful, that might not necessarily be business related, and understanding them on a personal level and connecting with them.
Right.
And I feel like
Like that's always been my personality. and excited to really just shine in this industry with that same type of formula.
Sweet, man. Yeah, I'm excited for you. Congratulations again on getting a great start, in the beginning of your career. And if anybody's looking to buy or sell a home, reach out to my guy, Vijay here.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Joseph, I wish you much success, man.
It's a pleasure wrapping it up with you today. Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
Wishing you the best.
Likewise.
All right.
Thanks, man.
See you
We'll
around.
See you.
Great.
What you
That
think?
was so nice.